I whispered. "You crave me." The alien woman bit her lip and said, "You finally noticed. Celestial collision." The proximity alert shrieked through Navigator Elian Reeves's consciousness, yanking him from hypersleep with brutal efficiency. His fingers, still numb from cryogenic suspension, fumbled across the control panel as his vision adjusted to the emergency red lights pulsing through his small exploration vessel. "Status report," he croaked. "Throat dry from disuse. Hull integrity compromised," the ship's AI responded in its perpetually calm voice. "Asteroid collision detected in Sector 7. Atmospheric entry imminent. Survival probability, 37%, Elian cursed under his breath. The Terran Expeditionary Force had warned him about this uncharted system's dense asteroid field, but the potential cartographic data had been too valuable to ignore. Now, as his ship tumbled toward the emerald and sapphire planet below, those warnings echoed mockingly in his mind. "Deploy emergency protocols," he commanded, strapping himself into the pilot's chair. "Reroute all power to landing thrusters and forward shields." The ship groaned in response, metals twisting as gravity pulled the wounded vessel into its inexorable embrace. Through the viewport, Elian watched the planet's surface rush toward him. Vast forests, interrupted by glittering rivers, all bathed in the golden light of a distant sun. The impact came with a shattering force that threw him against his restraints. Metal shrieked against stone as the ship carved a burning path through dense vegetation before coming to rest in a small clearing. When silence finally returned, Elian tasted blood on his lips and felt a sharp pain in his ribs with each labored breath. "Atmospheric analysis complete," the AI announced, its voice now distorted by damaged circuitry. "Oxygen levels compatible with human physiology. Warning, communication systems non-functional. Distress beacon damaged." Elian unbuckled himself, wincing at the pain. "Perfect," he muttered, retrieving the emergency med kit. A quick injection of painkillers would have to suffice until he could properly assess his injuries. After patching himself up, he cautiously opened the ship's hatch. Humid air rushed in, carrying the scent of unfamiliar vegetation, sweet and slightly metallic. He stepped onto alien soil, his boots sinking slightly into the moss-like ground cover that shimmered with subtle iridescence. The forest around him pulsed with life. Plants that resembled ferns unfurled as he passed, while something like dragonflies with 4 wings darted between strange trumpet-shaped flowers. Twin moons hung in the daytime sky, pale ghosts watching his intrusion. Elian circled his ship, assessing the damage. The communication array was completely destroyed, and the main engine housing had been crushed against a boulder. He was stranded, at least for now. "I should have listened to Commander Chen," he sighed, retrieving his portable scanner. Mapping this system wasn't worth... A sound stopped him, something between a gasp and a musical note. He turned slowly, hand moving instinctively to his sidearm. She stood at the edge of the clearing, regarding him with large almond-shaped eyes that shimmered like opals against her purple skin. Her hair, if it could be called that, resembled fine silver filaments that caught the light as they floated around her face as though underwater. She wore fitted clothing that appeared to be made from some kind of woven plant fiber, dyed in patterns that mimicked the forest floor. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other, two beings from different worlds, assessing the threat the other might pose. Then she spoke, her voice melodic and strangely accented. "Your vessel tore through the sacred grove. Many specimens were destroyed." To Elian's shock, she was speaking a heavily accented version of Standard Galactic, the trading language used throughout colonized space. "You understand me?" he asked cautiously. She tilted her head slightly. "I study the stars, and those who come from them. I am Nix, botanical researcher of the Viridian Collective, Elian Reeves. Navigator, Terran Expeditionary Force." He slowly lowered his hand from his weapon. "I didn't mean to damage your grove. My ship was damaged by asteroids." Nix approached, her movements fluid and deliberate. Up close, Elian noticed faint patterns beneath her skin that seemed to shift with her emotions, currently a pattern he couldn't interpret. "You are injured," she stated, gesturing to the bloodstain on his uniform. "Nothing fatal," he replied. "But my ship needs substantial repairs. The communication system is destroyed." Nix circled him curiously, her eyes assessing every detail of his human form. "Others will come looking for you?" "Eventually. But without a functioning beacon," he shrugged. "It could be months." The patterns beneath her skin shifted again, and her expression became unreadable. "Then it seems you are at my mercy, Star Traveler." "And what does that mean for me?" Elian asked carefully. A smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. "It means you should follow me before night falls. The forest changes when darkness comes, and not all its inhabitants are as curious about aliens as I am." As she turned to lead him deeper into the forest, Elian hesitated, glancing back at his damaged ship, his only connection to humanity and his former life. Then, with a deep breath, he stepped forward into the unknown, following the purple-skinned woman into a world he never planned to visit. Whispers in the bioluminescent forest. "These are lumina trees," Nyx explained, brushing her fingers along the smooth, pale bark that seemed to pulse with inner light. "They respond to emotional energy. The stronger the feeling, the brighter they glow." 3 days had passed since Elian's crash landing, and Nyx had proven to be an unexpected ally. Each morning, she arrived at his ship to guide him through the Viridian wilderness, teaching him which plants were safe to touch and which fruits he could eat without suffering what she called the shaking sickness. Today she had brought him deeper into the forest than ever before, to a grove where the trees emitted a soft blue radiance that intensified wherever they walked. "Fascinating," Elian murmured, placing his palm against one trunk. The area beneath his hand brightened to an almost white-hot intensity. "They're like biological emotion detectors." Nyx studied him with those opalescent eyes. "Your emotional field is unusually strong for someone so reserved." Elian withdrew his hand quickly. "I'm not reserved. I'm professional. Is that what humans call it?" A teasing lilt entered her melodic voice. "On Viridia, we recognize that emotions are like these trees, always present beneath the surface, even when we try to hide them." As they walked deeper into the grove, Elian noticed how the trees responded differently to Nyx's presence, shifting to purples and deep magentas that matched her skin tone. He found himself watching her more than the forest, mesmerized by the graceful way she moved, and the subtle patterns that rippled beneath her skin when she spoke passionately about her world. "The Viridian Collective has studied these forests for 12 generations, she explained, gathering samples from certain plants and storing them in small crystalline containers. "Yet we still discover new species each season. Life here evolves rapidly due to the binary moon system. On Earth, my homeworld, much of our native ecosystem has been lost," Elian admitted. "That's partly why the expeditionary force was created, to find and catalog life throughout the galaxy before it disappears." Nyx paused, her head tilting in that curious way that Elian had come to find endearing. "You travel among stars to preserve memory of other worlds, yet you let your own die?" The bluntness of her question stung. "It's complicated. Most valuable things are." She continued walking, the luminescent patterns around them intensifying into swirls of blue and violet. "That is why I've been recording you." "Recording me?" Elian stopped abruptly. "For my research, you are the first human to visit Viridia. Your physiology, your responses to our environment, everything about you is valuable data." She gestured to the thin metallic bracelet on her wrist. "This stores my observations." Elian felt a flash of betrayal. "So I'm just a research subject. To you?" The patterns beneath Nyx's skin darkened to a deep purple, almost black. "Is that not what I am to you as well? Another specimen for your expeditionary force to catalog?" The trees around them flared with sudden brightness, responding to their heightened emotions. Elian opened his mouth to object, then closed it again. She wasn't entirely wrong. Part of him had been documenting everything about her world, preparing the comprehensive report he would deliver when, if, he returned to Earth. Their standoff was interrupted by a distant melodic tone that resonated through the forest. Nyx's expression shifted immediately. The evening gathering, she said, her tone suddenly urgent. We must go. What gathering? My people. They meet at each twin moonrise to share knowledge and strengthen community bonds. She hesitated. I have not told them about you yet. Elian felt a chill. You've been hiding me? Protecting you, she corrected. The elders are, cautious about outsiders. But tonight, we have no choice. The forest path back to your ship will soon be impossible to navigate. As they hurried through the increasingly dark woods, the tree's bioluminescence created a pathway of light that seemed to respond to Nyx's urgency. Elian followed close behind, trying to process this new information. The trees around them blazed, with colors that reflected his confusion and her anxiety. There are customs you must observe, she explained breathlessly as they walked. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not touch the central flame. And most importantly, do not reveal that we have been alone together these past days. Why not? Elian asked, ducking beneath a low-hanging branch. Nyx stopped so abruptly that he nearly collided with her. When she turned, the patterns beneath her skin were pulsing rapidly. Because on Viridia, extended proximity creates a bond that is recognized as a formal declaration of intent, she said quietly. In your terms, we would already be considered paired. Elian felt heat rise to his face. You mean, we would be considered as having chosen each other as life companions, she clarified, not meeting his eyes. A process that normally takes months of formal rituals and family negotiations. The trees around them shifted to a warm, pinkish glow that made Nyx's purple skin appear almost iridescent. Elian suddenly became acutely aware of how close they were standing. And is that something you would want? He asked cautiously. The patterns beneath her skin formed intricate spirals that he hadn't seen before. What I want is irrelevant. My duty is to my research and my people. But the forest betrayed her, the trees around them burning brighter than ever, responding to emotions neither of them was willing to voice. Their moment was interrupted by another, more urgent tone echoing through the trees. Nyx stepped back. We must hurry. As they approached the edge of the forest, lights became visible through the trees. Not the natural bioluminescence they'd been following, but the organized glow of a settlement. Elian's breath caught as they emerged from the tree line. Before them lay a village unlike anything he'd seen on any world, structures that seemed to grow from the earth itself, spiraling upward and illuminated from within by the same bioluminescence as the forest. Remember, Nyx whispered, follow my lead and respect our ways. But as they stepped into the village clearing, a hush fell over the gathered Viridians. Dozens of purple-skinned beings turned to stare at the human in their midst, their skin patterns shifting in unison to display what Elian now recognized as alarm. An elder figure stepped forward, his skin a deeper purple than the others, marked with complex patterns that seemed permanently etched rather than shifting. Nyx, daughter of Lysandra, he intoned, his voice deeper than Nyx's but with the same musical quality. You bring a star wanderer to our sacred gathering? Elder Thalion, she responded with a formal bow. This human crashed in the Western Grove. I have been studying him as part of my research. The elder's eyes narrowed. For 3 cycles of the twin moons, you have been absent from our gatherings. Now we know why. He turned to Elian. Human, do you understand what it means to be exclusively guided by a Viridian researcher? Before Elian could answer, he committed his first cultural mistake. He reached out to touch Nyx's arm reassuringly, a simple human gesture that sent a collective gasp through the gathered crowd. He has touched you before witnesses, Elder Thalion declared, the patterns on his skin darkening ominously. The bond is acknowledged. Nyx's eyes widened in alarm. Elder, he does not understand our ways. Ignorance of custom does not negate its power, the elder interrupted. The forest has witnessed your bond. See how it responds to you both. Elian turned to see that the trees surrounding the clearing were pulsating with intense light, creating a pattern that spiraled around him and Nyx specifically. "What have I done?" he whispered to her. Nyx's voice was barely audible. "You've claimed me as your mate before my entire village." The storm and the shelter. The diplomatic disaster at the village gathering had been followed by 3 days of tense negotiations. On the 4th morning, Elian woke to the sound of thunder and a strange greenish light filtering through his dwelling's walls. "The Emerald Storm approaches," explained Malus, who brought his breakfast. "Nyx has convinced the elders to let her take you to safety." Soon after, Nyx arrived dressed in protective armor. "We must hurry. The council has postponed judgment on our situation until after the storm passes." They departed quickly, avoiding the judging gazes of villagers. "I've caused you serious trouble, haven't I?" Elian asked once beyond the village. "My position in the collective is complicated now," Nyx admitted, her voice formal. As the storm intensified with emerald lightning and viscous rain, Nyx led them to a hidden structure covered in vegetation. "The Ancient Ones built shelters throughout the forest. This one will protect us." Inside, they discovered a dome-shaped chamber with walls covered in glowing carvings. "The Ancient Ones lived here long before my people evolved," Nyx explained, removing her outer layer. "They believed all worlds are connected through the resonance, that conscious beings across the universe share invisible connections." As the storm raged outside, the sanctuary remained calm. Elian became acutely aware of Nyx's proximity and the subtle scent of her skin. "How long will the storm last?" he asked, his voice intimate in the enclosed space. 3 days, sometimes 4, she replied. "We are safe here." 3 days alone together, Elian said quietly. "Won't that make your situation worse?" After a moment's silence, Nyx's voice softened. "The damage is already done. And in truth, I am not as troubled by it as perhaps I should be." The patterns beneath her skin shifted to deep magenta. "While I have been studying you for my research, I have experienced reactions that are not scientific in nature." Heart-pounding, Elian reached out to touch her cheek, marveling at her silky purple skin. "On Earth we have a saying," he murmured. "Sometimes we find what we're looking for in the last place we expected. The Ancient Ones called it celestial inevitability, the belief that certain souls are drawn together across any distance." Lightning flashed through ceiling apertures, illuminating them perfectly. In that moment, Elian saw Nyx with absolute clarity, not as an alien, but as someone whose touch he craved with unexpected intensity. Their lips met in a kiss that felt both alien and achingly familiar. The storm outside intensified, but within the sanctuary, they created their own tempest of discovery, the ancient carvings seeming to shift and flow as if awakened by their shared energy. Divided loyalties, the emerald storm had passed, leaving behind a transformed landscape of vibrant new growth. For Elian and Nyx, emerging from their sanctuary, everything felt different, their perspective fundamentally altered by the days spent together. At Elian's crashed ship, he discovered the storm had partially reset the damaged systems. "I should be able to repair the emergency beacon now," he said, working at the control panel. "How long would it take for your people to respond?" Nyx asked, patterns beneath her skin shifting to muted blue. "Perhaps a week, maybe 2. The beacon hummed to life, sending its distress signal into space. Nyx's expression grew guarded. "There is something I haven't told you, Elian. My people's laws regarding interspecies relationships are more severe than I explained." "How so?" "Those who bond outside our species are not merely reassigned. They are exiled completely from the collective," she admitted. "Cut off from family, research, everything." Before Elian could process this revelation, the ship's AI interrupted. Incoming transmission detected. A distorted human voice broke through. "Explorer Vessel Delta 16, this is TEF Harbinger. Prepare for extraction. Estimated arrival, 16 hours. 16 hours? Elian whispered in disbelief. They must have already been searching for me. The distant melodic tone of the village summons echoed through the forest. The elders are calling me, Nyx explained tensely. I must face judgment alone. Then I'll wait for you, Elian insisted. We'll decide together what happens next. Hours passed without her return. At midnight, unable to wait longer, Elian headed to the village, where he found Melis. She is completing the ritual of severance, Melis told him. She requested immediate judgment after hearing your ship's transmission. Nyx believes she is freeing you from an impossible choice. Dawn was breaking when Nyx finally emerged from the ritual chamber. Her vibrant purple skin dulled, patterns almost static. It's done, she said simply. By sunset, I must leave the village. I am no longer a researcher of the collective. Then we'll face what comes together, Elian declared, taking her hand. Before she could respond, the roar of engines cut through. The dawn as a massive ship broke through the clouds. The Harbinger had arrived. Resonance beyond stars, the Harbinger hovered above the forest, its shadow falling across the Viridian village. Smaller craft descended toward Elian's damaged ship as Viridians emerged from their dwellings, faces upturned in wonder and fear. Elder Thalion approached them. You have brought more invaders to our sacred lands, he accused Elian. Not invaders. Explorers, Elian corrected, then activated his scanner. Elder, the bioluminescent properties of your ecosystem aren't just beautiful. They're unique in all charted systems. This is known to us, the Elder replied stiffly. What you may not know is that these properties could revolutionize interstellar communication. The quantum patterns in your lumina trees mirror theoretical models our best scientists have only dreamed of implementing. Commander Chen of the Expeditionary Force interrupted, demanding Elian prepare for extraction. Instead, he proposed something unprecedented, a joint research initiative between humans and Viridians to study the quantum properties of the forest. Instantaneous communication across light years, he urged. An exchange of knowledge benefiting both our peoples. And what of your situation? Elder Thalion asked, glancing between Elian and Nyx. Our laws regarding exile remain. Nyx stepped forward. Perhaps our laws, like our understanding, can evolve. The ancient ones believed in resonance between worlds. Perhaps they foresaw different species finding harmony. A formal scientific exchange, Commander Chen mused. Headquarters might approve a limited mission, and the collective might reconsider, Elder Thalion allowed. Not exile, perhaps, but a new role, ambassador between our peoples. I'm formally requesting reassignment as human liaison to Viridia, Elian declared. Later, alone at the forest's edge, they watched humans and Viridians cautiously begin interacting. Ambassador Nyx, Elian smiled. It suits you. Nothing is decided yet, she cautioned, though her patterns brightened. He led her into the forest, where lumina trees immediately responded to their presence, glowing with vibrant purples and blues that swirled together harmoniously. The trees don't lie, he reminded her. They show what exists beneath words. 6 months later, a significant ceremony took place in the bioluminescent forest. Under Viridia's twin moons, Elian and Nyx formalized their bond before representatives of both civilizations. The research outpost flourished, achieving the first successful test of quantum communication that would transform humanity's galactic expansion. At dawn, standing before their home in the restored ancient sanctuary, Nyx asked softly, "Do you ever regret giving up the stars?" Elian smiled, tracing the patterns beneath her purple skin. "I didn't give them up. I found them here, resonating in every tree, every creature." His fingers intertwined with hers, "And especially in you." The forest glowed in response, acknowledging a truth that transcended species and space, that sometimes the greatest discoveries lie not in distant galaxies, but in the connections that bridge the void between worlds.